Welcome to the video lesson 5, A Tiger Comes to Town, part 1. This lesson is in 2 parts. Learners, after completing this part 1 of this lesson, you will be able to read and enjoy an interesting story told from the viewpoint of a tiger, follow the sequence of events as they occur in the story, relate to animals with compassion, and develop awareness about the fact that animals have feelings, infer the meaning of new words from context and use them effectively, identify literary expressions and infer their meaning, write a paragraph to describe an event using sequence markers, convert imperative sentences into indirect speech, use the past perfect tense to describe actions completed in the past. Now, coming to introduction of this story, this is a story about a circus tiger and is covered over in 2 lessons. The story is told in first person. The tiger is the narrator. In the first part, we are told about a tiger who comes out of the circus tent and roams the street of the city. We all know that the natural home of a tiger is in forests. Other than that, we can see a tiger in a zoo or a circus, but these are not natural homes for them. In a circus, the tiger is tamed and trained by his master, so he obeys his instructions and performs accordingly. The story raises other issues too. Let us ask ourselves some questions. Are the tigers dangerous as we tend to think? When do tigers become dangerous as man-eaters? Why are people scared to see a tiger in the open? How are human beings endangering tigers' lives? Why is it important to save our wildlife? I hope you have all read the story and have a fair idea about its contents. Let us discuss the gist of the story in brief before we discuss each part in detail. This is a story about a circus tiger. One day, he finds the circus gate open. So he comes out in the open and starts strolling in the streets of the city. Seeing a tiger in the open, the people behave in different ways. They behave in awkward ways and run helter-skelter and hide in safe places. The tiger is confused. He wonders why people are scared of him when he means no harm to them. Sitting in the circus as spectators, they did not behave like this. In fact, he had formed a very high opinion of people. They were calm and brave and not scared of tigers at all. After walking down the streets the whole day, he needed rest. He reaches a school. There is a mixed feeling of excitement and fear amongst the student and staff. The teachers lodge the students in a hall to protect them from the tiger just in case he turned violent. Learners, now read part 5.2. Read from the lines, when I entered to or to safeguard. The tiger is a circus tiger. He has been trained to perform at a circus before children and adults. So far, he has studied human behavior through the circus ring. His opinion about human beings is that men, women and children are all brave and fearless. They appear to be friendly as they applaud all fears performed by the tiger. One day he finds the circus door open, so he steps out unguarded and unnoticed. He strolls down the streets of the town. What he sees intrigues him and he realizes how wrong he was in making his opinion about human beings. Their behavior was in sharp contrast to the behavior he had seen at the circus. From here begins a series of comical scenes and the tiger is both amused and confused. It almost appears that he is watching a circus of human beings. Their behavior is so comical and funny. Learners, now let us understand the story in detail. His first encounter is in the market road. The moment he steps on the road, he finds people run for their lives at the sight of a tiger. As he moves on, he found people pulling their shutters down. Some people hid in drains or climbed trees or even behind pillars. Gradually, he felt that the population was melting, which means people were disappearing from the scene, leaving the streets barren. The tiger says, "At the circus, I had no chance to study human beings." By this, he meant that his opinion about human beings after seeing them seated in a circus was a false one. So his study was not authentic. At the circus, the audience had sat peacefully, but now they were ruffled and fearful. This behavior was in sharp contrast to what he has witnessed now. Whilst the people sat peacefully, the tiger cowered before the captain's whip. Now even his own behavior was different. Whereas he lived in fear of his master in the circus, he was walking quite fearlessly now. The same people who he thought were fearless were now running away from him like a herd of deer, even though he meant no harm to them. He had no intention of attacking them. He stopped in the front of a tailor's shop to see what he was doing. But the minute the tailor saw a tiger, he left his machine and hid himself inside a cupboard, wailing, "Alas, I am undone. Won't someone shoot that tiger?" The tiger wondered why he wanted to have him shot when he had not done anything. The next scene was even more hilarious. He saw two constables escorting a prisoner in handcuffs. When they saw a tiger, the constables ran for their life, leaving the prisoner alone. That gave the prisoner a chance to run away. The question is, the constables who are expected to safeguard the lives of the people or the public had no courage to face the tiger, and instead of facing him, they ran for their lives and forgot all about their duty to take the prisoner to the prison's house. Yet another comical scene described by the tiger was about a horse-driven carriage in which some passengers were traveling. The moment the horse saw the tiger, it broke its reins and ran away. The passengers spilled out like beans and started running for their lives. The tiger felt that his presence literally froze life of the townspeople. There was an air of hopelessness. Though people had withdrawn into their homes, they were still feeling nervous. They had shut all windows and doors and ensured that they were bolted and sealed properly. The tiger takes a dig at the cowardly behavior of people by saying they were behaving as though they thought the tiger was some extraordinary creature with extraordinary powers, who could perhaps walk through the walls and wait either at the roof or in the basement, waiting for an opportunity to attack them. He wonders why people should harbor such thoughts when he had no interest in them. He had no intentions to attack or to safeguard them. The author makes the tiger raise questions and make statements which we humans should be asking ourselves or telling ourselves. We all know that saving the tiger has become a global issue. Saving the tiger is crucial for retaining biodiversity on our planet Earth. For that matter, all wildlife is crucial for the health of the planet Earth. And therefore, it is important to educate people and sensitize them to the need for all of us to live in harmony with nature. Now, 5.2.2, that is part 2. Now, before we discuss the second part of the story, please read the part 5.2 of the story from the line, "I rested for a moment at the door of a restaurant," to, "Are you sure you know who you are?" The tiger continued its walk along the city road. The next shop he had was at the door of a restaurant, where he sat down to have some rest. Now, if one were to measure a tiger's length from head to tail, it would measure around 11 feet. Is it tiger's fault if he is so long? Well, when the tiger sat before the door, he had almost blocked the entire passage. His tail reached out to the street. How did the people react on seeing this? The coffee drinkers and tiffin eaters sat frozen in their seats and forgot all about drinking their coffee or eating food. They were uttering low moans. The cashier held the cash box close to his bosom out of fear. His behavior was utterly cowardly. If they could read the tiger's mind, they would have known that the tiger just wanted to sit and watch. He wanted to tell them to continue drinking their coffee and eat their food. The cashier need not have stopped counting his cash. He could have carried on undisturbed. How else could the tiger assure them that he meant no harm? He was not out to kill. He had found a green pasture full of food and had eaten his full meal. He was not hungry. In fact, he would not need to eat for a few days. He wanted to tell them that he would not attack anyone unless he was hungry and food availability was not there. He was not like human beings who kill each other without provocation, purpose, or hunger. Here the author takes another dig at the human race in the garb of a tiger. He raises an important point about the unreasonable and selfish behavior of human beings. Despite having intellect, they fail to act wisely. In sharp contrast to this, animals were better off in their character. They never do anything aggressive unless provoked or feel endangered. Sometimes they may attack in self-defense. Moving on with the story and following the tiger's trail, let us see what he does next and where does he go. The tiger's next destination was a school. Seeing the gates open, he entered the school premises. Seeing a tiger in the school, one could see a mixed feeling of excitement and fear amongst the children. They ran here and there in great delight. The elders were trying to close the school in a hurry so that they are safe. The children were shouting in delight, "No school, no school, a tiger, a tiger." The tiger followed them as they laughed and ran. The tiger could sense that the children even enjoyed being scared. Such was the great feeling. Now, did you notice how the reaction of children was different from that of adults? The tiger followed them through the school gate while they ran up and shut themselves up in a hall. The tiger followed them up the stairs. Then he saw an open door at the far end of the veranda and walked in. As soon as the headmaster saw a tiger in his room, he jumped over the table, and from the table he heaved himself up on the attic. The tiger, who was looking for a cool place to rest, found the stone flooring ideal for his sleep. He lay down with his head under the table and went to sleep. The tiger says, "I was in no mood to bother about anything. All I wanted was a little moment of sleep." Whilst he went off to sleep, someone locked the door and kept a full guard on his movement. After some time, when he woke up, he heard a teacher say, "Now that this brute is safely locked up, we must decide." What do you think they were planning? What decision were they to take? And did you mark the word brute? Now, brute is a rude word to be used for an animal who is behaving in a perfect gentlemanly behavior. And tigers are known to be gentle, if not provoked. But it is the baser instinct of man who tends to treat all animals with a certain fear, and he cannot understand them or their nature. As the teacher stood outside the door discussing what to do, the tiger's master pushed his way through the crowd. After noticing that the tiger had gone out of his lockup at the circus, he must have been trying to look out for him. His search brought him to school. On reaching the room where the staff had gathered and using all sorts of words for the tiger, he got angry and scolded them for using the words beast and brute. These were ugly words coined by man in his arrogance and ignorance. Human beings who tend to think they are superior to all living creatures and who are endowed with superior intellect actually are an insult to their own intelligence and wisdom because they are ill-informed about animal behavior. So they tend to treat all animals alike. The teachers who were unable to decide what next to do did not like to hear anyone preaching them about the rightness or wrongness, about the use of words like beast and brute. They retorted sharply to the master's advice and asked, "Is this the time to discuss problems of vocabulary?" They were looking for a clear course of action and not advice or scolding. The tiger heard his master reply angrily, "Why not?" The teachers got even more angry with him and commented, "What a reckless man you are. Who are you?" They actually did not know who this stranger was. They did not know that he was the circus master and the tiger belonged to him. They thought he was some ordinary stranger who had walked in looking at the chaos. To this comment that he was a reckless man and to the question, "Who are you?" he simply said, "That is a profound question. I have no idea who I am. All my life I have been trying to find this answer." "Are you sure you know who you are?" The teachers did not know what to say to this. They were confused. The master had said something which was loaded with meaning. The word profound means deep, thoughtful and reflective. The circus masters shows superior intellect and wisdom here. The answer was rather philosophical. His statement could not be taken at its surface value. One had to read between the lines and interpret the meaning. He was trying to tell them that we humans have a wrong notion about ourselves. We are actually not what we think ourselves to be. A little learning does not make us true humans, or just because we are born superior to the other animals does not really give us the right to behave the way we want to. We have a shallow understanding of ourselves and life around us. Let us now summarize what we have learned in this lesson. The lesson is a narrative. The narrator is a tiger. The word I is a first person pronoun and has been used by the tiger for his own self. The tiger has adopted this technique for telling an interesting story. He has tried to showcase the pettiness and hollowness of human character. By making the tiger go around the town unescorted by his master, the author R.K. Narayan gives us two opposing views of man. The man who sits peacefully watching the tiger's antics at a circus, looking brave and courageous, not at all fearful. This is a rather false image of man who thinks he is brave. The other side of human nature, which has been portrayed here, is the more truer one. Man is timid and a coward. At the very sight of a tiger, he shows his real fear and confused state of mind. His mind and body freeze with inaction. Man's education is not complete. He thinks he knows, but he doesn't. Had his education been complete, he would have known the true nature of a tiger, or for that matter, any animal. All animals, including human beings, are somewhat similar in nature. They generally attack in self-defense or if they are deprived of their home and food. Animals are a shade better. They know how to live in harmony with nature. Humans lack that understanding. Had they understood the laws of nature, they would not kill unnecessarily. Human beings are also selfish. They kill animals as a sport or for trade purposes. In their greed, they have not only taken away their habitat from them, but also deprived them of their food. And to add to their woes, they do not hesitate to kill them for the purpose we have discussed in the previous point. This is the main reason for most animals gradually dying and their species on the verge of extinction. Human mind is covered with wrong ideas about animals. Our vocabulary reflects this pettiness. This is why we use words like beast and brute for great animals. Seeing the world through the tiger's eyes, one would laugh at the human behavior. It exposes the hollowness of our ability to think clearly. No wonder we are responsible for the great damage we have done and are already doing to our ecosystem. Learners, please read the lesson again and try to analyze the finer points that the author desires to tell us through the tiger's experience. Now learners, let us turn to grammar exercises given under subsection 5.3. There are some grammar points that we are going to learn under this section. Under A, we will deal with past perfect tense, and under B, we learn to use imperative in narration, direct and indirect speech. We have already learned about past tense in the earlier lessons. We also had a look at past perfect tense. Let us practice past perfect tense a bit more in detail. Let us study the sentences and test our learning. Remember, tenses are verbs and they give us an idea of when an action is or was or will be performed. Number 1. At the circus, I had no chance to study human beings. Number 2. They had sat in their seats peacefully while I cowered before the captain's whip. In second sentence, underline had sat while I cowered. Now coming to third sentence, I had thought that they were strong and fearless. Now in this sentence, underline had thought and were. The words had sat and had thought tell us that the action has already been completed sometimes in the past, but something else happened later. The words to study while I cowered and were strong and fearless tell us that these actions happened later. When we use past perfect tense, then we generally use another time verb, which shows a later action and is generally in the simple past form. Now learners, do the exercises given in your book on your own. Section B, direct and indirect speech, that is reported speech, use of imperatives. Now let us read some examples. Sentence number 1. Meena said to her friend, work hard so that you succeed. Now, if I want to narrate this to someone else, I would perhaps say it like this. Meena advised her friend to work hard so that she could succeed. Sentence number 2. The fireman said to the residents, vacate the building immediately. Now, reporting it, the fireman ordered the residents to vacate the building immediately. Sentence number 3. Sheil said, let's go to watch a movie. Now, reporting this very sentence, Sheil proposed that they go to watch a movie. Did you notice the words advised, ordered, proposed, which were used by the narrator telling someone else what someone said? The sentences which we just dealt with are all imperatives. Let us understand what we mean by the word imperative. An imperative expresses a command, request, instruction, advice, or suggestion. Remember learners, an imperative expresses a command, request, instruction, advice, or suggestion. When we translate someone else's word and narrate it in our own words, we make some changes without deflecting or changing the essence of the speaker's words. This is called indirect speech, or we can also say reported speech. In changing words to indirect form, we change the reporting verb along with some other words. The reporting verb in the given examples were advised, ordered, and proposed. Did you notice that the word said or told has been replaced by these verbs? Now, learners, study some of the verbs we use to carry out the desired function. For commands, we may use words such as ordered, instructed, or told. For requests, we may use words such as begged, requested, pleaded, asked, or told. For advice, we may use words such as advised, recommended, or urged. For suggestion, we may use words such as suggested, recommended, or proposed. Now, learners, do the exercises given in your book on your own. Next, refer section 5.4 in the book. There is a paragraph and read it carefully. The narrator describes what happened one day. Yesterday evening, I got home from work at 6 o'clock. It was going to be a long weekend this time. Learners, this is a paragraph which is given in your book. I would repeat. The narrator describes what happened one day. Yesterday evening, I got home from work at 6 o'clock. It was going to be a long weekend this time. We had planned many exciting things for the weekend. My wife had cooked a sumptuous dinner, which we both ate with relish. After dinner, I helped my wife to clean up the kitchen and then sat down to watch TV for about an hour. Then we got ready to go out to the Sarpanch's house where a cultural evening had been organized. Many folk artists had been invited from the neighboring villages too. The program was so entertaining that we all joined in the singing and dancing. The program finished at 3 o'clock in the morning. By then we were tired and sleepy too. As soon as we reached home, we went to bed. Learners, now note that the paragraph is told like a story, where one action follows another in a sequence. It uses verbs in the simple past tense. Remember, each sequence is linked with the help of words called sequence markers like after, then, later, by then, as soon as, etc. Now, to make the story interesting, some descriptive words and phrases that tell us something more about a place, experience, or feelings are included. That is, sumptuous dinner, ate with relish, a treat to the ears, etc. Now, you need to do an exercise on your own. Imagine you are the tiger in the story. When you went back to the circus, the other animals were waiting to hear what happened. Identify any 3 memorable experiences and narrate them in your own words. The opening lines of the paragraph have been written for you in the book. Try to look up the book, learners. Continue the story in your own words, keeping in mind the sequence of events, including all the funny things that you saw. Do not forget to describe your thoughts and feelings at each episode. Use the earlier mentioned sequence markers wherever necessary. I hope you do remember. When I went back to my enclosure after my performance, I saw the master had forgotten to bolt my cage. After the years of being in the cage, I was longing to go out in the open and enjoy being free. You can continue from this line. I have just given you a hint, learners. You can continue from this line and make a paragraph. Do this on your own to practice. I hope you have understood the story and have been able to interpret some of the issues raised in the story. I also hope you have been able to tackle grammar points well and can now attempt exercises independently. Prepare well for your exams. Best of luck and thanks.